I have al- I have always been here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, geeks, nerds, ambassadors everywhere, and welcome to the Ambassadorial Wing. And so glad that you all are here tonight. Thank you for tuning in this evening, and welcome to another Ambassadors Directors Spotlight, and a very special one because we are wrapping up another ambassadorial birthday. I turned 43 on Tuesday, and I wanted to wrap up this birthday week with a very special stream, much in the same vein as what I did for Mam Ambassador for her birthday. I am bringing you all a discussion on one of my all-time favorite directors, and that, of course, is the one and the only Mr. John Hughes. And for those of you who are familiar to the Ambassadorial Wing, I will be dropping the link in the chat here in a little bit, but I just want to get a few things out of the way before I get started. And if you are a first-time visitor to the Ambassadorial Wing and you enjoy this stream and you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are closing in on 450 subs on our way to 500. So be sure, smash that like button, smash that subscribe, and make sure you hit all those little buttons at the bottom just below this video. But, what good is a birthday if you don't talk about the things you love? And here at the Ambassador Wing, we celebrate pop culture. We talk about the things we love. We talk about the things we are passionate about. We talk pop culture, modern and retro, and there is no one more quintessentially retro yet awesome than the late great John Hughes. And if you are a child of the 80s or a child of the 90s, or if you are a child of the 80s or 90s at heart, John Hughes created some of the best and funniest and most heartfelt films of those decades. And he even wrote into the 2000s as well. Sadly, and unfortunate, we did lose him a few years ago. And tonight, we're going to spend some time. We're going to talk about his films. We're going to talk about his writing style. We're going to talk about his influence upon the pop culture landscape of the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. And we're just going to show some love for, in my humble opinion, a true great. And I did want to share a few things with you all because also with any birthday comes presents. And I got a few little gifts and everything from the ambassadorial family. Man Ambassador was and Mother Ambassador have both unfortunately been sick this past week. And they're like, we are telling you to go out and have fun this week. We will do something once we feel better. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go out. So this past Monday, I went out, had a little bite for dinner, and did a little birthday shopping. And I got a couple of things here. Nothing huge, nothing big, but I'll just share them with you all before we get started with the stream. I have been looking for this movie for a very long time, and I found it at a secondhand movie store. And I was like, holy freaking crap. I can't believe I actually found this. And I did. I found this. And I am so happy. I'm only missing one. Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. And I'm like, I actually squeed in geeker joy. And I was so freaking happy. I'm just missing Dogma now. And I was like, yes, 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 yes. I found it. Now I just need Dogma, and I'll have all the original run of the Jay and Silent Bob View Askew movies, minus the reboot one. But most of you know, who are members of our regular visitors to the Ambassador Wing, you know how much of a Marvel fan I am. And I am a Marvel fan. And also, I'm a fan of the What If series. Well, I found this little beauty, and I actually found a few others, which I may go back and get at another time, provided they're still there. But I saw this sitting on a shelf, and I was like, I have to have this because I don't know when I'll get back down here. I don't know when I'll get this again. But I found the Funko Pop of Captain Carter from the What If series, and I'm like, yes! I was so freaking happy. I was so happy. They had the Hydra Stomper. I'm like, I'll wait on that one, but I wanted to get at least this one, and I was like thrilled beyond all belief. But before I go any further with my little show and tell of what I've gotten for my birthday so far, I want to send a shout out to the chat. Marcus Cruz, the one and the only, the wonderful, the vivacious, the smart as a whip, Yvette Diavol, Aaron World Order, and Superior Hero Collectibles. My friends, it is good to see you tonight, and thank you for being here tonight, and I hope you enjoy the stream. And Yvette, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And Marcus, no, I did not see Gemma Chan in her Met Gala dress, but I'm sure she looks stunning. I'm sure she looked awesome, and I'll check it out at some point. I'm not really all that concerned, but Marcus, thank you for being here, bud. I appreciate it, truly. But I was talking to Mother Ambassador the other day. Actually, it was yesterday. And she's like, what am I going to get you for your birthday? I'm like, well, Mom, you really don't necessarily have to get me anything for my birthday. She's like, I don't care how old you are. You are my son, and I love you. I want to get you something for your birthday. And I was like, well, there are a couple of little things you can get me if you really insist upon getting me something for my birthday. And she's like, yes, I do insist. I'm your mother. She's like, might be bigger than me, but I'm still older than you. I was like, yeah, but you're several miles away. She's like, do you still have my debit card? I was like, yeah, I still have your debit card. You told me to hang on to it for the time being. She's like, how much money have I got in my account? I was like, here's how much you've got. And she's like, go get you something. Seriously. You work your butt off. You're my son. It's your birthday. Go get you something. I'm like, okay, fine, Mom. I'll get myself something for my birthday. So, and to the chat, Jeff B and Darren Wagner, good to see you, gentlemen, and thank you for being here. And Darren, hope my leg is healing. Darren, there's really nothing wrong with my leg, but thank you for being here, bud. I appreciate it. So, but yeah, I found these and everything, and I was like, and I'm actually go back and get the rest of these for this particular figure because for those of you who know, I am a huge Iron Man fan. Again, as I said, I'm a Marvel fan, and I was lucky enough because some of these Marvel Legends figures are really difficult to find, and I was lucky enough to find this one of the retro classic Ultron, which I'm like, score. Oh, no, Darren. Yeah. Actually, yeah. To catch you up, I had been having trouble with my ankle, or it wasn't so much my ankle, it was my foot, and I got checked out by an orthopedist, and it turned out I have early onset arthritis in both my ankles. And they put me on a prescription for the pain and for the inflammation, and the medication's working. So, but yeah, I'm doing a lot better. So, and Darren, I appreciate it. Thank you. And again, glad to see you, bud. And Aaron, World Order, the Iron Ambassador. Well, you're not far off, Aaron. So, hang on 1 second here. I found this one too. And as I said, I may get the rest of these because this particular line is primarily focused on Iron Man. Yeah, Darren. Most of my family does deal with arthritis, and I know a lot of other people do as well. The orthopedist, or rather, it was my primary care physician, put me on meloxicam. If you're familiar with that medication, and it has worked wonders. I haven't felt a drop of pain in either one of my feet since I've been on it, and I'm I can say very happily, I can walk, I can move, I can jump, I can skip, I can hop, I can. If I was limber enough, I could probably do a cartwheel, but I'm not going to tempt fate. Not at my age. But as I was saying, I found this other Marvel Legends, and well, I dug it. And it honestly kind of has a Tron vibe to it for those of you that are familiar with Tron. So I'll just go ahead and show this here. But it's the hologram Iron Man. So if y'all can see that, hopefully I'm not pixelating too badly tonight. I do want to apologize for the delay. My computer had a couple of updates on it, and it was running slower than molasses in January, so I had to push the stream back just a little bit until I could get everything lined up and running. So, but I appreciate you all being here tonight. And then again, I hope you all enjoy the stream, and it's good to celebrate a birthday, even if it's just a minor one. 43, it's not that big a deal. I mean, 40, 50, all the even numbers, but still, I'm glad you're here tonight, and I hope you all enjoy the stream. And, well, now that I've shown off my few birthday gifts or anything, I do want to let you all know real quick there will be no stream this Saturday night. A couple of my buddies from high school had gotten a hold of me and were like, "Hey, you do anything for your birthday?" I was like, "I didn't really have anything planned," and they're like, "Uh, yes, you are." So there will not be any ambassador. There will not be a stream this Saturday night, but I will be back Sunday afternoon with afternoons with the ambassador stream, and I'll be discussing. The last couple episodes of What If, and I'll also be bringing you all my thoughts on the Hawkeye trailer. And I will, of course, be back tomorrow afternoon with the Council of Ones, and we'll be doing our weekly review of Babylon 5, and we'll be continuing our review of Season 4. So that'll be at 3:30 Central Time, so be sure to tune in for that. And I've got several other streams planned for for the remainder of the month and everything. For those of you who know or those of you who don't, and this will be my last bit of update and whatnot before I get into the main topic for the night. I'm going to be streaming primarily on Thursdays. I'll be doing my normal on Fridays, and I'll be doing stuff on Saturdays and everything, unless I let y'all know otherwise. I've started my new job, and these are the best days for me to stream. That doesn't mean to say I may not pop a random stream up here or there and everything, maybe an afternoon stream, but I'll be doing my main stuff on Thursdays and Saturday nights. So, anyway, getting that all of that out of the way, let's jump into the main topic of the night. Director spotlight of Mr. John Hughes. And as I said, for those of you who are a child of the 80s or 90s, or just simply a fan of great comedic films, John Hughes is by far one of the greats. So, and Jeff B, thank you, bud. I appreciate that truly and sincerely and deeply. So, but I was introduced to John Hughes in the 90s, more so that was in the 80s. And I know I've covered some of his films and everything on the and some other things that I've discussed, anything, Ferris Bueller's Day Off and so on. But I really wanted to just spend some time and unpack why I have such an appreciation and a love, and I'm such a fan of his work, especially now that he's no longer with us. And I recognize that every director occasionally has the stinker of a film or TV show or whatever they do, but it helps you appreciate the good work that they have done in their careers. And for me, Hughes was quite literally in a lot of ways king of the 80s. He really was. His career slowed down a little bit in terms of directing in the 90s, but he was still kept busy. He was still active even up until his death in, I think it was 2009. And he had a very distinctive tone to what he did. He was very, I would say, irreverent in how he crafted his movies and how he wrote his stories and so on. And I just, in a very deep and personal sense, I fell in love with the films of John Hughes. For me, he is by far a real icon of these decades that were my childhood. And I would imagine that is true for a lot of other people. And I'll bring up his IMDb here real quick. Just bear with me for just a minute, guys and gals. If there's any gal, if Yvette's still here. IMDb John Hughes. Here we go. But it's 2009. I had that right. Okay. And I will say this: I have not seen every single one of John Hughes's films, whether it was something he wrote or he directed, but I have seen the biggest part of his directorial work, and I mean, from the jump, he had me. I understood his tone for the type of films that he wanted, type of stories he wanted to tell, and for the worlds that he wanted to create. I mean, for heaven's sakes, there's even a reference to him in um, one of Kevin Smith's best known films, and that is, of course, Dogma. And it just so happens, like I've showed y'all before I got just as we got started, um, the fact that his movie is referenced by Jay of Jay and Silent Bob and Dogma, and he's like, "We can be the fat kiss and be the pot connection in Shermer, Illinois, but here's the problem: there is no Shermer in Illinois." He's like, "All the chicks were top shelf, but all the guys were whiny pussies." And yes, I'm going to say it because that's how Jay said it, so ergo, that's how I'm going to say it. And I want to say a shout to the chat, Mr. Leroy Kong. Leroy, good to see you, bud. And Leroy, you're not late. I just barely got started, so no apologies required. You know, you don't have to apologize. You got a life, dude. I get it. It's okay. So, but before I get any further into this, let me drop the link for the stream in the chat. So if any of you want to come in and join the conversation, you will be able to do so. And just give me half a second here, because I'm doing this all on my onesie, all on my lonesome, but that's okay. I'm used to doing all this stuff myself. Not a big deal for the ambassador. Ain't no big thing. That's what she said. Sorry, bad joke. I know, bad joke. But hey, when you get to be my age, you're allowed the occasional bad joke. I mean, granted, I'm not a dad, but I can tell dad jokes just as good as anybody else. So, all right, for those of you that want to join, what the bloody hell are you doing? Oh, for Pete's sakes, it didn't. Okay, hang on just a minute, guys. Computer's acting a little stupid. There we go. All right, there we go. So, for those of you that want to join me tonight, you want to talk about John Hughes' films, the link is up in the chat now. So, by all means, come on in. We'll talk John Hughes. We'll have a good time, and we'll wrap up my birthday. So, but as I was saying, Hughes was a name amongst names in the 80s and 90s. I mean, you talk about the 1980s, Hughes was on everybody's lips. I mean, he did some of the most iconic films of the 1980s. I mean, you talk about The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Uncle Buck. I know Uncle Buck is one of his lesser known, or maybe not lesser known, but not as profitable, but still hilarious beyond all reason. It was a hysterical as all hell, and I will tell you all right now, Uncle Buck is by far one of my all-time favorites, and of course, another iconic film of the 80s is, of course, Weird Science with Anthony Michael Hall and Kelly LeBrock and very young and very buzz-cutted um, Bill Bill Paxton, yeah, and also another late actor that was a. Oh, Aaron's here. Okay.
What's up? King
Aaron,
of the '80s, man. Talk
hey,
about the king of
Aaron,
the
good to see you,
'80s.
man.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, Mister John Hughes, 16
yeah.
Candles, John. So,
Look at the film. Look at his filmography, especially in the '80s. It's like it's not a bad.
oh,
You can't name one bad film.
yeah, I mean, I've got his. Let's see. Okay, under his director's credits, I mean, 1991, you got Curly Sue. 1989, Uncle Buck. 1988, She's Having a Baby. 1987, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. 1986, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. 1985, Weird Science. 1985, The Breakfast Club, and 1984, 16 Candles. I mean, for heaven's sakes, I have a drop
Yeah, that's just
from
his
one of John.
director credits. Some of the films he's written for are damn good too.
Oh yeah, I mean, hold on. Let me pull up his writer's
Yeah,
credit here real quick. 1 second. Producer. That's not what I want. Okay, hang on. Holy freaking crap. Okay, he wrote a lot. Okay,
yeah, he
writer's
did.
credits. All right, working backwards from 2015, you've got Vacation, you've got Beethoven's Treasure Tale video, Home Alone, The Holiday Heist. It was a TV movie, Beethoven's Christmas Adventure, Hotel Hell, Vacation, Drill Bit Taylor, Home Alone, Beethoven's Fifth, Made in Manhattan. Wrote that under the name of Edmond Dantes. Let's see, Beethoven's Fourth, Just Visiting, which actually is a kind of a cult classic that I really enjoyed. Reach the Rock, Home Alone 3, Flubber in 1997, 101 Dalmatians in 1996, Miracle on 34th Street, the remake he did in 94. Baby's Day Out, he did in 94. Beethoven's Second, he did in 1993. Dennis the Menace, he did in 93. Home Alone. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Beethoven, the first one in 1992. Home Alone in 1991. Let's see. As I mentioned, Curly Sue, Dutch, Career Opportunities. Actually, no, Home Alone came out in 1990. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, he wrote in 89. Uncle Buck, The Great Outdoors, She's Having a Baby, Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, Some Kind of Wonderful, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Pretty in Pink, Weird Science, National Lampoon's European Vacation. I didn't even realize he wrote that. Breakfast Club, Mr. Mom. Ooh. 16 Candles, Savage Islands, National Lampoon's Vacation, the original. Let's see. Oh, good grief. Let's see. He did The Secret Life of Nicholas Tesla in 1980, and he did something called Class Reunion in 1982. So yeah, he's got over 50. He has over 50 writers credits and 8 directors credits.
I think this
So
guy
to
took a
say
vacation.
no, because hey, he busted his ass as a
Yeah,
writer and as a director. And yeah, Jeff B, yeah, I think for everybody, Uncle Buck is a cult classic, an absolute positive cult classic and everything in terms of not just the 80s, but also in terms of John Hughes. And you have to, the interesting thing is, it is a very strange premise well, maybe not a strange premise, but a very unorthodox premise. A grandparent has a heart attack. And the husband and wife are like, "Who the hell are we gonna call?" And he's like, "What about my brother Buck?" And the wife is like, "Buck, are you serious?"
Reluctant.
He
Yeah.
very, very, very reluctant.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about John Candy, and of course, John Candy in this movie, as in all the movies that he did throughout his career. Oh, Jeff B. Yes.
Chew that more. Yeah.
Here's a quarter. Why don't you go down to the docks and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face? I mean,
It's a
that
great
is
movie.
an absolute epic burn. And
Yeah.
and he's like, I don't have a college degree. I don't even have a job. But I know a good kid when I see one. And they're all good kids until some dried up old skag like you chews them out and makes them think that they're no good. I mean, Buck owns that woman. And yes, I have actually given a chew out like that on a time or two myself. Granted, not to a person of that age, but to some other people who have just kind of been asswipes. But I will say this about the character of Buck Russell from Uncle Buck. He gave no F's. He gave
Yeah.
no craps. You screw with him or his family, he's gonna come after you.
I
And
mean,
I gotta
he
Go
goes.
ahead,
He will
Danny.
go far, man. Like to Buzz. What's his name? Was it Buzz, the boyfriend?
No,
Is that his
Bug.
name? Bugs.
Bug.
Yeah, Bugs. Yeah, Bugs. Like, with the they threatened Bugs.
Have you ever heard of a ritual? Have you ever heard of a ritual killing? Hey, I got the hatchet. I keep it razor sharp, almost good enough to shave with. Not to kill, just to maim. A little off the shoulder. And the whole
Oh
time
my.
he's trying to reconnect with his niece. What was the girl? What was the
Oh
character? What was the
yeah.
niece? Tia.
Yeah,
And of
yeah.
course, you got Macaulay Culkin, and I can't remember the name of the girl and everything, but Maisie, Miles and Maisie, the little niece and
The
nephew.
twins, right? They're twins, right?
They might be. I think, yeah, they might be cousins. But some of the exchanges in this movie. I mean, you've got John Candy, you've got Macaulay Culkin, and that conversation. Do you have a job? No. Do you own a
Yeah.
house? Rent. You have a lot more hair in your nose.
You know what made me laugh so hard? You know what's
Mhm.
the funniest scenes I see in all cinema was when he was with washing his clothing in the washing machine and it wasn't working.
And not to mention, you've got Laurie Metcalf, who would go on a few years later to be the sister on Roseanne,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jackie, and she played the neighbor. And she's like, "Who you talking dirty to?" He's like, "Oh," he's like, "I was cussing and kicking and punching the washer because the darn thing wouldn't work." And she's like, "Oh, okay."
It's just
And
oh my
it's
god.
yeah, but that was
Remember
one of
those
the great.
pancakes?
Oh my gosh, the birthday scene for Miles. He's like, you ought to see the French toast. I couldn't even get it through the door. And the way he handles that clown, I mean, put her there, oh yeah. And he's like, have you been drinking? And he's like, what? Your mother Cabrini, you never touched this stuff? He's like, no, but I sure as hell wouldn't I wouldn't come to a kid's birthday party drunk. And the way he just absolutely positively floors that clown, and the guy is
Oh.
like tries to come back up
Oh
all
yeah.
tough, and he just goes bam.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Well, and that's the great thing about, and well, not to mention that was his way of getting rid of the clown, because Miles and his friends are like, we don't want a clown. Clowns are
Yeah.
lame. Clowns are
They're not the
stupid.
age anymore. They outgrown
Yeah,
that stuff.
exactly. But unfortunately, the mother is so out of touch. She's like, "Yeah, let's order a clown. It'd be a brilliant idea."
She's a boomer still.
So to speak, yeah, the mother was kind of a boomer. But that was the great thing about John Hughes's films.
Yeah.
They were funny, and the dialogue was always really really quick, always really fast paced, and it was very engaging. But even though there was a lot of humor in Uncle Buck, there was also a story there about a family, and not to mention Buck himself, trying to
Who's kind
figure
of
out
like
who trying to
he's
figure
kind of
out
like
who and
he's kind of estranged from the family. That's the story.
yeah,
He's kind of
because
distanced from the family.
yeah,
Yeah.
because everybody in the family kind of views him as kind of a loser, kind of a loner,
Lazy,
because he
couch potato, some kind of guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
essentially he's kind of the over to the too old for his own good to be acting like he does type of family member. And
Yeah.
but by the end of the film, he is actually he's grown up, he's matured, he's got his feet under him, and him and his girl are going back, and you can imagine eventually they're going to get hitched. He's going to settle down and knuckle down and do right by
Yeah.
her. And okay, I gotta say it, when Buck goes to the party to find Tia, and yeah, Jeff B. Yeah, I'll bring up Jeff's comment here. The daughter's conversation about adulthood was great writing. Yeah, Jeff, absolutely. The way she talks to Shanice, Buck's girlfriend, off non
Yeah.
girlfriend, and you know, I have to admit, Uncle Buck is one of those like diamonds in the rough from the 1980s that a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, I remember that movie. Who did that again?" And you're like, John Hughes. They're like, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, John Hughes. And you're like, well, yeah, obviously. But that you know Uncle Buck is like a very much a microcosm of Hughes's writing and directorial style. It's always very very quick.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of wasted time. There's not a lot of wasted um, space in his films, because he wants to get you in, establish the world that he's in. And here's the crazy thing: you can actually see, you can envision a lot of these people or a lot of these characters being real life people in the real world.
Yeah.
That's the truly amazing thing about John Hughes. So, but Aaron, your thoughts on Uncle Buck or John Hughes or any of his other films, for that fact.
Well, especially in the 80s, yeah, his movies are mostly comedy, but they told about what the 80s lifestyle was like. For his movies that contain high school, like Weird Science, Breakfast Club, those kind of movies. That's what the high school was like in the 80s. That's what his
Oh yeah.
lifestyle in the high school was like in the 80s. Um, so he caters to what the style was like in the 80s, basically, at the time, and that's what made it great. Because, as you said, we could grow up with these guys, because I was not in high school in the 80s, but obviously that's his lifestyle in the 80s. That's what high school is like, and what and the other stuff that happens in the 80s. That's what it's like. So that's why people can understand, can relate to his movies and stuff, because that's how life was like in the 80s.
Yeah, because granted, I wasn't in high school in the 80s. I was in like elementary school and junior high. Well, at least for a year or so in the 1980s. But I can tell you that in a lot of ways, some of us were like these kids. I mean, I knew at least two or three people, and thinking back now, that were like Miles or like Maisie from Uncle Buck.
Yeah,
And the crazy thing is, the 1990s in some ways did reflect, at least in the attitude, John Hughes's perspective on high school in the 1980s.
I say I say the 1990s, the early 90s was still a little bit like the 80s.
Yes, yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with that because there was always everybody was very fashion
Yeah,
conscious. You wanted to hang with the right clique. You wanted to be with seen with the right people. You wanted to have the right
like
persona
look at
and the
us
right
now.
perspective.
Look at us now. We're geeks, right? Geeks or nerds. Back then, if you're a geek or a nerd, if you're a geek or a nerd, you're not cool. You're like they
No,
look down upon you, right?
yeah,
Now it's totally
but
different.
yeah, but that's the interesting thing about John Hughes because he made the outsider or the misfit
Yeah.
seem cool. And he wrote
Hmm.
them interestingly. They weren't a parody, they weren't a spoof. They felt like a real person. And that has always been something that I very much resonated with in terms of Hughes's movies. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen every single movie that he directed, but I
Neither have I.
saw the biggest chunk of them. Granted, he didn't direct a whole bunch or anything. He only directed like 8 or 9 films in total, but they are absolutely positively iconic of the 80s and the early 90s. I mean, like I said, you've got Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Weird Science, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles. I mean, like we talked about for the last few minutes, Uncle Buck. I'm gonna have to check out these other two, Curly Sue and She's Having a Baby, because I don't think I've ever actually seen those.
Oh,
But
crazy! I've seen that. It's with the Belushi's brother, Jim Belushi's brother, John Belushi.
oh, is it
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Cool.
You know Jim Belushi, of course, from the Blues Brothers in Animal
Oh yeah.
House, right?
Oh
That's his
yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I know who Jim Belushi and John Belushi are.
yeah, yeah. It was a good movie. It's what was the other one you said?
Let's see. She's having a baby. I've
I've
not
never
even
seen that
heard of that.
either.
It came
Yeah.
out in '88. I never even heard of it before, to be honest with you. But of you know, the one of his films that I absolutely positively love about anything is, of course, The Breakfast Club. And these kids are, and you want to talk about a brat pack film. I mean, you had the Rat Pack
Mhm.
in the '60s with Sinatra and all of them. You had the Brat Pack in the '80s. I mean, you had Emilio Estevez, you had Judd Hirsch, you had Ali Sheedy, you had Molly Ringwald,
Yeah.
and
Anthony Michael Hall.
yeah, Anthony Michael Hall. Yeah, I you know, and of course you had the one guy who was like
Yeah,
the principal
That's
or
one
the
of the few that wasn't a truly a comedy because most of the movies were comedy. That's the one that was not a most not. That was more of a serious take. There's some funny
yeah, it
stuff
was.
in it, but it was more of a serious take.
Yeah, because I remember there is an exchange between the guy that's in charge of detention and
Yeah.
Judd Hirsch's character. And I remember the end of the movie. I mean, all of Hughes's movies have a truly iconic ending to them. I mean, you think about
Hmm.
in terms of Breakfast Club, you've got the one character, yeah, and you've
Yeah,
got don't you
you got to
forget
be
about
careful
me,
with that. Huh?
like,
You got to be careful with that.
oh yeah, I know, and but the interesting thing is I never really had detention at any point when I was in school. I mean, I was never
Oh, I
really the
have.
troublemaker. I never was. I was never a troublemaker. I wasn't necessarily a square, but I didn't get into
I
stuff.
wasn't a troublemaker. I wasn't like, but I got touched for other reasons. But I wasn't like maybe being late for class, stuff like that. But like, I didn't cause when I was in class. I didn't cause trouble or
Oh
anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, totally. Well, and the thing that I the thing that I appreciate about the Breakfast Club as much as I did was these kids finally got their heads turned around, especially the one kid that was played by Judge Hirsch. I can't remember all of their names off the top of my head, But Judge Hirsch's character, he really got his act together, and he really turned out to be he did better. And that, like I said, and he was like, you made us realize we could do better with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, from most sincerely, the Breakfast Club.
I mean, like the five different personalities, five different style. Like what did that movie did? It's definitely the '80s high school. Five different people from all different five different kind of cliques. You got the troublemaker, you got the weird girl, you got the nerd the nerd who has the pressure to get the high grades all the time. You got the jock, and you got the popular girl. That's very '80s.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
totally. I mean, even when I was in elementary school, we kind of had that sort of
yeah.
that similar thing, and even in junior high,
I mean, it
we
still
had the
went on for
similar
like
thing.
years. It's not as high as it's not like that as now as much as now, but it's still around, but not like to the extent it was in the '80s and in the '90s.
Well, the thing you have to remember for Hughes, he was writing his own experiences from
Yeah,
his teen years, his adolescence, and he drew from all these different things that he knew of that existed in the current time, but that really echoed throughout the
yeah,
years. I mean, we all have existed in our particular cliques or our particular
yeah.
little
The clicks,
groups
yeah.
or whatever, our various social groups. I mean, like you mentioned, you got the jocks. I mean, of course, you've got that. Well, and we can talk a little bit about Ferris Bueller here shortly.
Oh yeah,
But you've got that very quotable line from the secretary in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Oh, everybody just loves him. The geeks, bloods, sluds,
yeah,
wastoids, dweebies, dickheads, motorheads, jocks.
yeah. It's true.
They all just love him. They think he's a
Except
righteous
his sister.
dude. Except for the sister. Except for, of course, the sister does come around at the end.
Yeah, yeah. At
So,
the end, like,
but but the great thing about Breakfast Club is it was a more serious take, and Hughes handled it well. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
everybody knew him for his comedic writing, but he also had the capacity to do serious stuff as well. And of course, you want to talk about his writing, as I mentioned before. He wrote the screenplays and scripts for some absolute icons of the 80s. I mean, you want to talk
mm,
about the National Lampoons, the first three National Lampoons movies. I mean, National Lampoon's Vacation, European Vacation, and Christmas Vacation. Three of my all time favorite
yeah.
movies ever. And who wrote the scripts? John Hughes himself. And I want to send a shout to the chat to a fellow geek, a fellow nerd, a fellow ambassador, Alan of Press Play Studios. And folks, if you are not subscribed to Press Play Studios, I highly recommend you do so. I was listening to Press Play's stream earlier this evening before I got started and everything while I was waiting for my computer to update, and he was doing a really good conversation on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So um, his name is in his channel name is there. Go check him out. He's over 100 subscribers. Let's get him to 150. Let's get him to 200 even. So, Jeff B, I can't remember if you still, you do not have your wrench. Why do you not have a wrench? This does not make sense at all. Hang on one second. All right, Jeff B, if you would be ever so kind, and if you have the time, uh, if you feel like it, uh, add or share Press Play's channel link in the chat if you don't mind. And hey, Alan, I know you just got done with your own stream, but if you're not too worn out and you want to join me and Aaron and everything, I put the link up at the pinned up at the top of the chat if you want to come in and talk John Hughes for a little while. But anyway, either way, it is great to see you and thank you for being here tonight. I really do appreciate it and really enjoyed the stream and everything you and the ladies were doing. So. Of course, if you're pulling double duty, you're listening to me, and you're doing your own stream. Hey, respect the hustle, dude. Really respect the hustle. But talking about Hughes's capabilities as a writer, even when he wasn't doing even when he wasn't directing, people were like, "Hey, Johnny Boy, why don't you write some scripts?" And
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, I would love if he were still alive. I would love to see him do some very like Hughes esque movies or takes on the current culture of the 2000s. I personally think those would be absolutely hysterical in a lot of ways. So,
It'd be
but
very different. It'd be very different from its typical way
mhm,
because it's changed a lot. I
mhm.
mean, let them do like a. You know what you should do? Did them do like MCU and then do like Spider Man and see how you could do that when Spider Man was in high school?
Oh my gosh. John Hughes doing a Spider-Man movie? Holy freaking crap, that would have been awesome. Okay, here's I mean, I know this crossover, this collaboration cannot happen now because unfortunately he is dead. But
Yeah.
imagine John Hughes working with like Sam Raimi or John Watts on a Spider-Man film.
Yeah.
Holy freaking crap, would that have been cool as hell? Even if he just wrote the dialogue, I mean, granted, he didn't really do like big budget stuff. He did more character driven stories, which is why people love his movies and why they are truly timeless. But
Mhm.
I have got to admit that would have been a really cool um, collaboration right there.
Mhm.
I cannot tell a lie. So, but you know, I think I get the very distinct impression that when Hughes wrote the scripts for the three National Lampoon's vacation movies, he was like, okay, what type of hell can I put this one single family through? And you have to ask yourself the question, how much of this happened? How much hell did he go through in his own life?
Did he have trouble finding an amusement park? About hell going to an
Did,
amusement park? Travel across
yeah,
the country?
or did he just take all of the horrible, awful, just miserable vacations that he probably took as a kid and just culminate them and ramp them up to 11 and go, okay, let's put these out and see what happens.
Was it the
I mean,
first
you think,
one where they killed it when they left the dog on the road? Is that the first
oh,
one?
yes, that was the first National
Oh yeah.
Lampoon's Vacation. Yes.
I can't believe they went that far, man. I can't believe I mean, they didn't show it, but I can't believe they actually still went there.
Yeah. Well, that's, oh, Alan, dude,
Okay.
I know that struggle. I have to be at work. I have to be at work that early. Thankfully, tomorrow I'm off. But hey, I do appreciate you being here, Alan, and definitely. I hope you catch the replay of this, and I hope you enjoy it. And I will definitely check out the rest of your stream with the ladies later, either somewhere along the line. But a great conversation y'all had on Shopee tonight. So, and appreciate you being here. But yeah, the thing I've always found of the most interest, particularly when it came to the vacations movies that Hughes wrote, they had some of the weirdest damn characters you'd ever imagine.
The brother, no, the brother-in-law, Randy Quaid's character. Oh
Oh,
my
good
god.
grief! Well, technically, it was cousin Eddie, so it was more like a cousin-in-law, or whatever way you
Oh yeah,
want to
cousin Eddie.
categorize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cousin Eddie.
Uh, what relation were they? Were they like Did they ever explain like how they're cousins? I forget.
Um, yeah, Eddie is Elaine's
Uh,
cousin on her side of the family.
uh,
Him and Clark are not actually related just by marriage, not by blood. And you get the impression that the family on her side, at least within cousin Eddie's little orbit, is just a little bit off. because
Oh yeah,
Elaine seems very
yeah. They don't seem like they're from the same family,
oh
like
no,
same
not
like
Elaine,
related.
Ellen. Clark and
Ellen, yeah, you
Ellen.
don't seem
Yeah,
related at
Ellen.
all because like Ellen look
Yeah.
because Ellen's like from like you could tell she grew up in the city stuff like that. Like how is she like related to this family? Like when this family is very off the wall, more country like like southern
Mhm.
country like right, and that lives in a farm or wherever. I don't, yeah, is that I don't know.
Say that one more time, Aaron.
I was saying like Ellen looks like she was like raised in the maybe she wasn't. So she was raised in the city but
Yeah, she
and
seemed a little more cityfied than cousin Eddie. Yeah, totally.
yeah.
But you know, I will say this of the vacations films. Anytime I've had kind of a cruddy day, I can come home. I can pop those out because I actually have both of. I have all three vacations movies because to me there's only three. I don't acknowledge National Lampoon's of the Vegas Vacation as within the National Lampoon's Vacation universe, if there is such a thing.
Or that
It's
crappy
top.
remake like years yeah, it came out like a couple years ago with the son.
Well, but here's the thing: Hughes wrote the script for it, if I
Did
remember
he?
correctly. Yeah, I think.
I thought he
Uh, well, he wrote the characters, is what he wrote. He didn't write the screenplay per se, so you can't give him. He doesn't get full blame for that because somebody else directed it, and somebody else produced it, and somebody else wrote the script itself. So,
yeah, I'm finding out who. Um
mhm.
what was the name? Vacation. There we go.
Yeah, just Vacation.
Yeah.
Of
So
course,
it's
I imagine.
directed by Jonathan Goldstein, based
I
on
have
John
no.
Hughes. Characters are based on John Hughes. You're right there.
Yeah. I
That's
guess that
basically
was what's
it.
supposed to.
Because he was passed away before then. So
Yeah, because he passed away in '09, and
yeah,
these are the characters that he created back in
yeah.
80 something. Hang on.
Hmm.
Good grief. Let's see. Okay. Christmas Vacation came out in '89. European Vacation came out in '85. And just Straight Vacation came out in '83. So, but
Hmm.
like I've mentioned, he probably got stories from other people that were like, yeah, I went on this vacation, it was absolute hell. And he like,
I'll just
okay,
tell you
kid.
one thing. You saw Vacation from 2014, right?
No.
There's this one. There's the one scene. There's this one scene you have to check out with a bunch of cops. Um, um, Utah. There's a spot in Arizona where there's a spot in the U.S. where all the states meet up, right? And if you're in this middle spot, you're technically legally not in any state. But if you step onto this spot, you're in this state. So so there's all these cops from these different states were there, and they couldn't arrest anybody. They couldn't arrest them, right? Because the vacation because the vacation was in that spot where they can't. So no, so specifically saying no jurisdiction has the right to arrest them because they were not in any state. So they're like, so they couldn't arrest them because they're not in any. They had no jurisdiction. And that's when
Yeah,
they
it's
step onto
true.
this. And that's yeah. So it's like a Utah cop, Colorado cop, Arizona cop, and New Mexico cop. Yeah, it's like it's basically saying like if you step in international waters and you step out of international waters, it's kind of like that.
Well, and that's John Hughes for you. I mean,
Yeah.
oh, and hey, here's a face I have not seen in a little life. Ill life, ill. Good to see you, bud. Pop his comment up here. John Hughes shaped half of my childhood. To this to Breakfast Club is the Breakfast Club is in my top 10 all time. It's such a deep genius movie that
I agree.
gets overlooked as an 80s pop culture thing. Ill, yeah,
He
absolutely.
doesn't get talked about as a director. When we talk about directors, he does not. Surprisingly, he does not get talked a lot about. And
Well,
he's
the part of the reason I started this series and why I've continued on with it is because I've had a lot of interesting conversations about these great directors. I mean, I've talked about, I did Spielberg, I've done Mel Brooks, I've done John Carpenter, I've talked about Quentin Tarantino, I have talked about um oh, for him's sake, there's several in here. I mean, obviously now John Hughes, James Cameron. I'm eventually going to do one on Joel Schumacher at some point. So, but for me, the reason I picked Hughes was because he is by. I mean, there would probably be say, well, Ambassador, what about George Lucas? Yes, I love George Lucas because, well, he gave us Star Wars. But John Hughes's films, whether he directed or wrote them, are by far, in a lot of ways, superior because Hughes was a pure writer. He was a good
yeah.
director, but he was a pure writer, and he could write very, very well. He wrote a lot of interesting characters,
He
and
only
that's
directs stuff he'll write. All of his movies that he directed is all written by him.
mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah. And I just want to send a shout out to the chat. Just George, good to see you. And to anybody that's in the chat right now, if you're wanting to join the stream, links up at the top. So, but that was the one thing that I've always been intrigued by in terms of Hughes's ability as an artist is not just so much his capacity as a director, but he's directed some really great films, but also his capacity as a writer. And I
Hmm.
mean, you think about the broad swath of characters that he wrote throughout his career. I mean, from Ferris Bueller to Clark and Ellen Griswold to the entire Griswold family. He wrote these characters to be interesting, to be relatable, and to be the type of characters that would get stuck in your mind. Let's be candid. You think about a movie like 16 Candles, which I will confess I have not had a chance to see all the way through, but I do know some of the more quirky bits of it. And, you know, the same is true also of Pretty in Pink. I have not had the chance to sit down and watch these all the way through, even though, as much of a hardcore John Hughes fan as I am, they're ones that just kind of slip under the radar. And this stream will now gives me the extra incentive to finally sit down and watch those two films and give them their due time and their due respect because I respect Carpenter that much as a director. So,
Hmm.
oh, really? Okay. And hey, I'll bring up Ill's comment here. She's having a baby as real as shit too. It's, LOL, his range is crazy. I'll have to, and hey, Ill, I'll definitely have to check that out because I have never, up until tonight, until I looked at his IMDb, I didn't even know he had done a movie called "She's Having a Baby" before. So I'll definitely have to check those out, and I'll bring up George's comment here as well. I still need to see Pre and Pink and 16 Candles. You know what, George? I might just put together a Twitch stream, and we might watch those uh, somewhere down the road. I'm not sure when, but I will definitely need to check those out. So
Yeah.
because I want to be able to say I have seen all the movies that John Hughes directed because him being my favorite director, I feel like I owe him my time to check out these films because when you have an appreciation and admiration for a director or artist of any type and their work, you give them the time that they deserve. And that's been one of the things I've always tried to put forward with the content that I put out for my channel is to promote and celebrate this thing that we call pop culture. And for me, nothing is more quintessentially essential to being a geek or a nerd or just a fan of or a kid or a teenager of the 80s and 90s as John Hughes. And even for those of you that are in the chat that are younger than myself or even Aaron, who didn't grow up in the 80s, but you have been exposed to the world of the 80s through John Hughes's films, you kind of understand where we are coming from and our kind of our mindset, because we are very much of a different mindset and a different mentality. And that's not meant as anything to be disrespectful or rude. It's just a simple fact. We grew up in a world that was very different from what you all have grown up in now. So, and I'll bring up Bill's comment here. So, yeah, especially if you've had a kid, then she's having a baby. It's hilarious in a real sense of what you go through in your head leading up to kid over pregnancy through Kevin Bacon's eyes. Oh, now ill, you just completely and utterly sold me on wanting to
Yeah,
see
I need to
she's having
see
a
it now
baby.
too.
Kevin Bacon is in it. I
Yeah.
am so freaking there. Yeah, and I'll bring up George's comment here.
Oh yeah.
John Candy. Yeah, John Candy is a key factor to John Hughes' films. Yeah, because you think about it, he played the security guard at Wally World. Now, granted, he didn't direct Vacation, but he wrote it,
You rolled
obviously.
it. Yeah.
But John Candy, as that Wally World park
He had a
security
big part in
guard.
that film.
Oh, he was hilarious. I should tell you, sir, I had a very bad experience on this roller coaster. What happened?
Yeah.
I threw up.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what else? He was in a bunch of some stuff. He was in. I mean, one of
um,
my favorite movies of all time is Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, and that was such. I mean, every
yeah.
Thanksgiving that's a movie you have to watch. Like everybody has to watch that movie during
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
yeah. And I may put together a watch party for that around Thanksgiving, because it's been a long time since I've watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but of course I do have this drop.
How could you rent the thing anyway without a credit card?
I have a gasoline card.
You can start by wiping that fucking dumbass smile.
I've been wearing the same underwear since Tuesday.
So definitely, probably in November, we'll probably do a watch party for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, just because one, it's a great film, but the really crazy thing is, it's not a pure comedy. It actually has a very
It is sad, especially on John Candy's side
Yeah.
of the movie.
yeah, his character, because
Yeah.
at the end, Steve Martin's character finally realizes, holy crap, this guy doesn't have a family.
Yeah,
He's
because
completely-
the Candy seems like John Candy seems like the character seems like, oh, he's a fun guy, he's a happy guy. In reality, he has no home. His wife tragically passed away. He's all that act. It was just an act. All it was just an act.
pretty much.
Yeah,
That's a sad thing.
yeah.
But Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, honestly, I haven't watched it in a really long time. I probably need to get it on video and everything, just so I
I
can
just
have
love the airport saying, "Fucking, oh, you're fucking screwed" or something like that.
Oh
Remember?
yeah, and the crazy thing is, you've got the secretary from Ferris Bueller's Day
Yes.
as
Yes.
the car rental representative or receptionist or whatever, and she's like, oh what? You're fucked.
Yeah, you're. Yeah. Oh,
Hey, George.
yeah, I think the George. Yeah, but maybe you pre-associate
Yeah.
John Candy. I tell you, I know this is back. My two favorite guys that had weight issues are Chris Farley and John Candy.
I
Two of
think
my
that
great favorite
that
actors,
just
comedians.
I think that just goes to show, Aaron, that you have good taste in comedic actors. So no disrespect whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, and I'll bring up Il's comment here. That's how all Hughes' movies are. The comedy is there, but there's always a serious undertone somewhere in there. Sometimes
That's
more, sometimes less, but it's always in there. Yeah, yeah, Il.
like
That is
80s.
that is
If you watch sitcoms, look, this. If you watch sitcoms from 70s and 80s, yeah, they're sitcoms. They're mostly based on comedy, but there's always issues involved. I watched Full House. Yeah, Full House is funny, but there's always issues. Same with Family Matters. Always issues. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in the 90s. There's comedy, but there's always issues. That's what great. That's why I find sitcoms back. The sitcoms I find these days don't really tell about those issues very well, like
Mhm.
they did it back in the past. I find them so because they try to be like back then you could get away with it more, but I felt it got the message better back then. When they try to do it now, the message is not as good.
Well, that was the thing with Hughes. He wasn't afraid to balance his humor with his drama or with his serious
Yeah.
issues. I mean, okay, let's just kind of take a minute and let's break down a movie like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Hmm.
And a lot of people they talk about the fact that it's Ferris trying to do something good for his cousin or not for his best friend Cameron, and he's like, I just want to give Cameron one good, really good day.
Yeah, because he has
And
a
he's
has
like,
a strict father. Like,
oh, an overly strict father. I mean,
yeah.
you could say the guy is borderline Yahtzee. But that was the great thing about Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I mean, yes, it's got some great iconic scenes. I mean, the whole movie in itself is an absolute icon of the '80s, for heaven's sake. I
Yeah.
mean, I've done a review of it. I've done a watch party for it. I actually did a watch party for it last year for my birthday because that's how much I love that movie.
It's a shame
But
Matthew Broderick. It's a shame how he couldn't keep up the humor like that. I know he's been in other movies, but he couldn't keep up the sense of humor like that. Like, I mean, they did. I think the writers did a bad job of making Matthew Broderick more of a major star than he should have been. Because that movie should have been more of a breakout star. I know he's been in some high impactful movies like Godzilla, stuff like that. But I felt like some directors and some writers failed him.
well, and that's the thing. If the actor is given the good material,
Yeah.
he or she can take it and work with it and do something interesting with it. But when you're given crap, it's kind of hard to take crap and turn it into something decent. But you look at we were talking about. You look at a movie like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's also about the fact that these guys are growing up. They're going to be moving away. They very well may not see each other again, but Ferris wanted to give them one great day out together. And in a lot of ways, Ferris succeeded. I mean, let's just be honest, he completely and utterly succeeded. So, and I do want to say to the chat, Jeff B, uh, good to see you, my friend, and thank you for tuning in tonight. And hope you have a great night, and we will see you next time for sure. So, I'll bring up Ill's comment here. Have an '80s and a DVD's age shelf that goes from Premium Pink to X's Vacation. All there's like two that aren't Hughes, Tough Turf and Less Than Zero, but the rest, like 15 movies, are all Hughes pretty much. I can respect that because, much like you, we have our movie collection very much categorized, and I'm the one that did the categorizing. Yes, I'm that big of a geek. And I know you weren't in here earlier, but I went out earlier this week for my birthday just me on my own. I went and had a little fun and I did a little shopping. And I'm going to put together a shelf. And I might start. No, maybe not. I won't do. I won't go that far. But I'm going to have to clear off a little room because I finally found a copy of this. Here, hey, it's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh.
I'm only missing Dogma. I've got Chasing Amy. I've
Kevin
got
Smith
both
collection.
Clerks. Kevin Smith collection, and I will say this: I did my Kevin Smith stream a few months ago as well, but I will say this: I think, and I would love to pick his brain, but I would wager that Smith was very much influenced by Hughes.
Yeah, he worked on Mallrats. Hughes. I saw it in the filmography. They worked on Mallrats. I think it was a right. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was a writer, but I think it was maybe a producer.
Well, let's find out.
It wasn't obviously wasn't director because that's Smith.
No. Yeah, that was Kevin Smith. Let's find out here. I'm not seeing it.
I'm pretty sure he worked on it. I saw him. Oh, I saw on Wikipedia. Wikipedia could be wrong, but
yeah, because I'm looking at IMDb. Let's see, producer. Newport South in 2001, Reach the Rock in 98, Home Alone 3 97, Flubber in 97, Our Dalmatians in 96, Miracle on 34th Street, the remake in 94, Baby's Day Out in 94.
Mallrats 95.
Yeah, it's not showing up on here.
Oh, well,
so
okay, maybe. Oh no, I think you're right because it says in his filmography on Wikipedia, it says he's a writer, but when I click on Mallrats, it says written by Kevin Smith. So it's probably it's Wikipedia. It's probably got it wrong.
And I'll bring up Bill's comment here. Yeah, K. Smith is 100% inspired by him. I'm sure he has admitted in an interview. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly. I mean, if you think about it, in a lot of ways, John Hughes was the voice of the 80s. Kevin Smith was the voice of the 90s in terms of comedic content and really great comedic, funny movies that have a lot of really interesting dialogue.
You know how many stars came from Kevin Smith's movies? If Ben Affleck was in Kevin Smith's movies, I don't think Ben Affleck would be the major star he is today.
And I think you got a point there, Aaron, because I mean, granted, not everybody. And an old face I have not seen in a while popping up in the chat. Neon Sci-Fi, yo, happy birthday, old man. I'm not far behind you. Neon, you are as young or as old as you feel, and tonight I feel very, very young.
Maybe not as young as movies.
Hmm?
He's probably seen some of the movies. A lot of young guys probably seen some of John Hughes' movies and don't realize it's directed by John Hughes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've pretty much listed off the ones he's done. He only has 8 director's credits.
Yeah.
And everything in total. So he did more writing than anything, but you have to admit the ones that he is most well known for are absolute and total icons of the 80s. I mean, absolutely positively. Whether he was in the behind the scenes writing or he was behind the camera directing. John Hughes, in a lot of ways, is a jack of all trades when it comes to what he could do as a creative. I mean, he is by no means a slouch. So, yeah, and I'll bring up Il's comment here. His movies were always heavily inspired. His movies have always heavily inspired music in the synthwave genre too. Now that I was not aware of, so thank you for bringing that up. I mean, he's got a music or a soundtrack credit. He's only got 2 of them. Let's see. It's for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and National Lampoon's Vacation. he wrote the song "I Can Take Anything" from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and he wrote the Wally World national anthem for for National Lampoon's Vacation. Why does Well, George, I don't. I'll bring this up, and George, I hope I'm not rubbing this in your face. If I am, I do apologize. So, but I
Dog was
recently
hilarious. See, I mean, I'm
I
dog
got
was.
this, George. I got this. I'm only missing Dogma now.
Oh,
That's the only one
such a
I'm missing.
great movie, Dogma. Oh
Oh,
my god.
and hard as hell to find. You can't even. It's hard as hell to find even on Amazon.
I mean, look at they had Alan Rickman. They had Hans Gruber in that movie.
Yeah, as the Metatron. Yeah,
Yeah,
but you want to talk about an equally great character from a John Hughes film. I mean, this guy would be your best bud or your worst enemy, but you want him to be your friend because he was just that damn cool. And that is, of course, Ferris Bueller.
yeah.
Can you think of a name that is any more quintessentially 80s than Ferris Bueller? Bueller. Bueller. Fry.
Oh, yeah. I always that guy's in like every like 80s and 90s early movies.
Ben Stein.
Yeah,
Ben
Ben
Stein.
Stein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll bring up Ambassador. I'm only right now. Right now, I need to get the rest. I'll check my use. Restart. Not now.
You can probably find it on Amazon.
Yeah, you can. I was exceedingly lucky. I actually found Mallrats, and I think it was either Clerks 2 or Chasing Amy, at a vintage toy store a few months ago.
Wow.
I found Clerks, Chasing Amy, and I think one of his others at a secondhand movie store as well. I'll bring it and to the chat. TW McKay, TW, it is good to see you, bud. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate. Yeah, really. He wrote the Wally World's theme for National Lampoon's Vacation, the very first one that they did way back when. And I'll bring up TW's comment here. Ambassador, do you remember the game show Win Ben Stein's Money? Yes, TW, I do. I remember it was on Comedy Central back in the 90s, and it was absolutely funny as hell. I mean, I don't know how many people actually won Ben Stein's Money, but it was hysterical as all hell. And I'll bring up TW's other comment here. My favorite Smith movie is Clerks, with Mallrats as a close second. TW, right on, man. Yeah, and TW, I'll bring up TW's comment here.
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel was the co-host back when he was still funny.
The funniest most is Stephen Colbert.
He has his moments.
Yeah,
He does. But Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Let's just be honest here. It is truly one of the greatest comedic movies ever written.
yeah.
Ever. In the history of ever. So, it's got, you've of course got Ferris, you've got his brother Shauna / aka Jeannie. You've got Mia Sarah as Sloane Peterson. You've got
Mia Sarah. Man.
Even nowadays, she's not bad looking.
Well, I haven't seen her much. I don't know what she's in now.
I think she's doing a lot of stage work, honestly.
Oh, okay. But back in the day, I haven't seen her. I take your word for it. But back in the day, well, she was beautiful, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. She did Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She did Legend. Mm-hmm. Another movie I've never covered, but I need to. Sawing. Batu. Ferris Bueller, you're my hero.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
Charlie
yeah.
Sheen was in it, remember?
Yeah, he played the stoner dude at the and everything that was at the police station when Jeannie gets hauled in for supposedly
Yeah,
making a
Jennifer
phony
Grey.
phone
Yeah, I
call.
remember Jennifer Grey was in it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's his
yeah,
sister.
yeah. Like I said, I've talked about Ferris Bueller before, but it is absolutely positively one of my all-time top 10 favorite comedic movies, and just plain one of my all-time favorite movies. Period. And it doesn't necessarily have anything, although it doesn't hurt that John Hughes both wrote and directed it. But it is a movie that is so emblematic. It is so iconic of the decade known as the 1980s. I mean, it really, truly is. And the way that Ferris and Sloane and Cameron just get in and out of all these weird situations. Okay, one of my all-time favorites is when they go to that really fancy upscale French restaurant,
Yes.
and the maître d' is like, "You better leave before I get snotty." Snotty? Snooty. Snooty? And he's like, "Do you think I am not who I say I am? Yeah, you're Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago."
Yeah.
He's like, "That's me, Abe Froman," without even freaking flinching. And he's like, "You grab me, I'll yell rat." And the maître d's fine. And then when they jury rig it to where they're, "Yeah, TW, you touch me, I yell rat."
Yeah.
And then when Sloane just completely and utterly owns him, he's like, "Again, I'm so terribly sorry." And Ferris gives that very backhanded but absolutely epic burn to the maître d'. "It's because of people like us that we can tolerate people like you." And the maître d' doesn't have a thing to say, but just walk up and he's
Yeah.
like, "Good day, thank you." But that was the brilliance of Hughes.
Yeah.
That was the absolute brilliance of Hughes. I mean, I'll have to. I say this. I hope it is true because, as y'all know, I am Christian. I hope when I get to heaven that John Hughes is there, because heaven will be hysterical beyond all reason.
Yeah. Yeah. He's probably like directing movies up there now.
Maybe not. So, oh yeah, TW the phony
Yeah.
phone call to Rooney by Cameron.
Because Cameron was actually sick. Cameron was really sick. Was actually sick.
Well,
I remember
he
that.
he was playing sick. He wasn't actually sick.
Oh yeah, but he was more believable because he wasn't a troublemaker like Ferris Bueller. So
Yeah,
like
exactly. And I want to say a shout to the chat, Lewis Cox and Sire Steppenwolf. Fellas, it is good to see you both, and thank you for
what's up,
popping
guys?
by. Good to see you, and thank you for tuning in. I know some of you are just stopping by and say hi and drop a like. I
I have to say this.
appreciate it.
I say it's the actor who played a principal. I know he had like his career really took a downhill because of some serious shit he got into as an actor. Like he got in some serious bad stuff. Like what he did, but he was just a great '80s actor too.
Oh yeah.
That guy. I forget who the actor was, but
Are you talking about the guy who played Rooney?
the director, the principal, yeah. Because I also remember him. He was in Adam's Family, not Adam's, not Beethoven, Beetlejuice. He was the
He
father in
played the
Beetlejuice.
dad, Jeffrey Jones. Yeah.
Yeah,
He got
he
into
was
some.
he was a good actor too. But if you know if you know what happened to him, you see why he's not in movies anymore. Because he got canceled. Because he kind of deserved it too.
Yeah, from what I hear, he did kind of deserve it. So I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not all for the whole canceling thing of people, but if you do some bad stuff,
Oh,
yeah, you kind of deserve it. Now I will say this: the ending of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where he has to get on the school bus because his suit is ruined, his shoes are ruined, and his car has been towed.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, couldn't have happened to a bigger jerk and that absolutely positively deserved it. And he did. Edward R. Rooney had to be the biggest and most utter jerkwad
That's how
in the history of education.
that's how
I mean,
principals were portrayed back in film in the 80s. Principals were portrayed as the villain, right?
well, yeah, but if you think about it in real life, I mean, like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
real life, some principals could be. Well, technically, Rooney wasn't the principal. He was
Oh.
the dean of students, is what he was.
Okay, he was, yeah, yeah. You're right now. You're right, but like in the 80s, they took it to a whole new level where the
Oh
whoever's
yeah,
in charge is, yeah. It's like more like a whole new level of a villain. Like now, yeah. Principals are not necessarily supposed to be on your side, but like then, they're like we're definitely not on your
they
side.
were complete and utter jerkwads. I
Yeah,
mean,
they're
okay,
jerks.
think
Yeah.
about it. Two of the most hated characters in cinema, at least in comedic cinema. I mean, with Anita Hogarth from Uncle Buck, and then Edward Rooney from Ferris Bueller. He absolutely nailed the microcosm of the absolute hateful, just vindictive bully principal. So, and I want to send a shout to the chat, Ferris Geeks World Ferris. It is good to see you as always, bud. And I'll bring up your question here and everything, and we will address it. Hey, Ambassador, happy birthday. Do you think going from Home Alone to Home Alone 2 and 3 sort of downgraded John Hughes' writing style?
I don't think from Home Alone 2, but 3. I mean, like, 3 wasn't like that's one like in the 90s. His writing as the 90s were getting progressing. He wasn't exactly the same. I mean, I like Home Alone 2. I thought his writing was fine for Home Alone 2. Home Alone 3, I didn't hate it, but I didn't feel the same. The only like I'll say this: we got Scarlett Johansson in Home Alone 3, the young Scarlett Johansson. That's how I knew her from first. Remember that? I remember that. I remember. I'm like, yeah, this is the girl phone. I remember Scarlett Johansson's in Home Alone 3. I think you remember that too, Ambassador, right?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah.
I do
She
remember
was a child. She was a child actor, so yeah. But that's how I remember her. But I think Home Alone 3. What did you think of Home Alone 3?
To be perfectly honest, I've only seen Home Alone 3 like once, and I saw Home Alone 2 maybe also once. For me, there's only one Home Alone, and that is the very first one. That was by far the funniest, the most clever, the most. I mean, it is quite literally a holiday classic. I
Yeah.
mean, it is an absolute and utter holiday classic. So, and to Superior Hero Collectibles, Superior Cody, my friend, you know you are always welcome here and everything. So, the link is up above. Anything whenever you're free and you want to pop in, just
I
pop
just
on
can't
in,
believe there's a
bud.
Home Alone 4 and 5.
You know, well, I think
I think there's a remake coming, isn't there? I don't know.
oh dear, please, no. You know, sequels are one thing, but remaking a classic like Home Alone, no, just no. Now, I'm not gonna get as
Yeah, there is. It's
oh
coming out this year in November. Trout. With
shoot me in the head. No,
it's a
I think I
Disney
just
movie
buy the.
too.
Yeah, and I will bring up Ill Life's comment here. Home Alone 2 is pretty darn good too, but after that they don't count. Yeah. Actually, Home Alone 2 is one of Ma'am Ambassador's favorite movies and everything. She even likes it better than the first one, which, hey, you know what? It's cool. She likes the second Home Alone. I love the first one. I mean, here's the thing. I've watched that movie. I've had it on DVD for years. And every Thanksgiving and every Christmas, we watch it.
Yeah.
Regular as clockwork. So, Aaron,
Yeah.
you were going to say something. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Home Alone captures the spirit of Christmas.
well, not to mention it
But
also.
Kevin is a psychopath. Kevin is a psychopath. I mean, he's defending his home, but the way he's defending it, the actor Daniel Stern had a Twitter account. Do you ever see his Twitter account? It's not verified, but the actor Daniel Stern, such a great actor. I don't know why he stopped acting, but he's such a good actor. He had a Twitter account pretending he was his character, character Marv. And he's like, Harry, he's coming to get me. He's coming to get you. Do you see that video? He posted on his Twitter account. I don't know if he still has his Twitter.
I haven't
years ago.
I haven't even had a chance to. I don't follow a whole lot of actors or actresses on Twitter. To be honest with you, Aaron,
I'll try to find it for you.
Okay, that's fine. But
if he still has his Twitter account, if I have to try to find that, but he's actually been in a movie. He has actually been in a few movies the past few years.
Oh, Daniel Stern. Well, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, for heaven's sakes, even Emilio Estevez got a second chance with Mighty Ducks and everything. That series that they did for Disney Plus, and if you think about directors from the past, John Hughes is one of those that never had a bad reputation. You've not heard a single person, at least as far as I know, come out and say a single negative or bad thing about him or anything, and about their experiences working with him as a director. And that's really that is a credit to him as a person and also as a director, because John Hughes was very much, I think, kind of old school in terms of being a director, because he always tried to work with the actors and actresses that came on board for his projects. And he didn't treat them abusively. He didn't treat them poorly. He just gave them the time and effort to create what he had, to bring to life what he had created through his scripts and through his work. So let's see here. Oh, okay. Give me a minute, folks. Aaron just sent me a link to something. So
yeah, it's a Daniel Stern thing. Daniel Stern.
Actually, it isn't. It's the link for your movie or for your stream later.
Really?
Yep.
What the fuck? I'm pretty sure. What the?
No, it's a link for your stream that you're gonna be doing on Becky Lynch in a couple of days.
I'm pretty sure oh my god! I'm pretty sure. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hey, I've done it too. I've sent the wrong link to.
Okay, I'm gonna get it for you. Okay.
If you don't, it's okay, Aaron.
I'm sorry if I'm swearing.
No, you're Aaron.
Let me try this.
Don't know this. I have only rule. I have only one rule when it comes to swearing. As long as you don't blaspheme, you're good. Okay.
Oh yeah, I swear all the time on my streams.
Yeah, and so, dude, a little swearing isn't going to offend me. Oh, okay, yeah, I got it here.
If you want to play it, you can. If it's up to you.
Yeah, totally. Give me some minute to back it up and everything, and share it so y'all can hear it. Just bear with me for a second.
I don't think you get a strike or not a strike.
I doubt it. And if I do, I'll just clip it out and I'll.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, here we go.
This is like 5 or 6 years ago, but
yeah, 2015. So okay. Harry, I'm scared. The kid is back. I saw it on the internet. The kid is coming to get us. I saw him. He's coming for all the home invaders, and he's gonna go get us. He's coming back. I saw it. He's got blood. He was killing a guy. He was stabbing or something. He was dancing
the bug still. He electrocuted me, for God's sakes. He turned me inside out. Now he's coming back to get us. Please, Harry, I'm home. Alone.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Thank you, Harry, for sending that. Oh my freaking gosh. Oh wow.
I always wondered Home Alone 1. I always wondered Home Alone. You know, Harry pretended to be the cop, right?
Yeah.
Like right at the beginning of the movie, right? How did he get assigned that job? Did he like actually work as a cop? But like, is he secretly a cop, but it's also like really a robber? Like, how does he get assigned a job if he's not really a cop? like, like that doesn't make sense if you think about it, right? He has to get hired, right? So you can't just go up to a random cop on the street and say, "Oh, can I hire you for this?" You have to go through the precinct, right?
Mhm.
See,
Here's the thing, though, too, and Aaron. It's not really terribly hard to kind of replicate a policeman's uniform per se,
oh yeah,
particularly the kind that Harry wore in the movie. So I don't necessarily think he tried to go through the police academy or anything, because this is a guy that is a criminal. So I would imagine he probably had sources that he could get that uniform from. And I do want to bring up Ferris's question here. Ambassador, do you think that the remake of Miracle on 34th Street is bad as the review says? Because when I saw it on TV for the first time, I enjoyed it. Not to mention it has Mara Wilson. Ferris, I will tell you the truth. I like both versions of Miracle on 34th Street. I like the old black and white one with Maureen O'Hara and so on. And I like the newer. I did like the remake as well with Mara Wilson and with I think if I remember correctly, it was Catherine O'Hara, Maureen O'Hara's daughter, who
yeah.
was in that as well. And not to mention you got Richard Attenborough as Chris Kringle. So Ferris, reviewers are going to give their reviews on things. And, this is something that I know a lot of other YouTubers say. I share this sentiment as well. If you happen to like a movie, then like it. If you enjoy
Yeah,
a movie, enjoy it. Don't
we don't
worry.
tell you what to
Do
enjoy or
not.
not enjoy, man.
Don't worry. Yeah.
It's your
Don't.
right to enjoy whatever you want. There's only
Don't.
one group who
let-
doesn't say like that, okay? And
Yeah.
we're not that.
Ferris, if you love the remake of Miracle on 34th Street, then love it. If you do, and don't worry about what some snooty faluty stick up their ass critic has to say, because here's the
Yeah.
thing: critics are not a critic can be a fan, but unfortunately for some critics, they sometimes lose the capacity to be simply just a fan, because they are so often having to look at movies from a particular perspective or analyze them so heavily that they kind of miss just the sheer enjoyment of going to the movies and watching a movie, or staying at home and watching a movie on their own. So that honestly, Ferris, is the long and short of that there. I know that there are particular people out there who do nothing but bad takes on movies, whether they're old or new or whatever. But personally, for myself, and I think you know this as much as as often as you and I talk, Ferris, I don't claim to be an authority on anything. There are some things I am very well versed in, I will admit. But as far as me saying this is my word is law, my word is the final word on a particular movie or TV show or any other piece of media. I am not a professional reviewer. I just happen to be a fan.
Even if you take his word, take somebody's word as law who knows about this stuff.
Mm.
If you like it, you like it. Don't, even if the person is you take you actually follow that I actually believe who knows the stuff says it's not good, but if you like it, you like it. It doesn't matter what this person says. Whoever is saying about about a specific movie or whatever, it's whatever you like. You're not judge for yourself. That's all you gotta do. Judge for
Yeah.
yourself, like I do.
I mean, I'm friends with many people who absolutely love, well, just as a basic example, who love the sequel trilogy of Star Wars by Disney. I myself detest the entire thing from one end to the other. But that does not mean that I stop being with friends with those people just because they have a different opinion.
Yeah, we're
And
friends with
I
people that don't
meant,
like Marvel.
yeah, you know, I would imagine if John Hughes were alive today, he would not be getting into the shenanigans that a lot of these other younger directors are getting into. And I will say this, and I do apologize for the train whistle, everybody. It's not, there's not a whole lot I can do about it, but just my sincere apologies if it's coming through or not. And I'll address this very briefly, and then we'll move back onto the topic. I found out earlier today that Denny Villeneuve made a off the cuff comment about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU.
Yeah,
And and I have to say this in terms of Mr. Villeneuve's response. All movies, all pieces of media, whether it's music, the written word, celluloid, television shows, whatever the case, they follow a formula or a structure. And that it is a necessity of good story writing that you follow some sort of structure.
and MCU is the only one that has it right now. Of all of Hollywood, MCU is the only one that has it.
Yeah, and and that says something because they were able to figure out how to crack
Yeah,
the the equation that would make the MCU run, make it work, and make it be
I
as popular and as profitable as it
I just
is.
don't I just don't understand why it's not just MCU. I just don't understand why these directors have to bash comic books in general. Don't they understand people love comic book? Not just comic. They love heroes, superheroes. They grew up with
Yeah.
this character. Like they want to see him on the big screen. Like
Well,
and look, Marvel
um,
movies. They all these. I'm gonna. I know this is not really the part. This is not supposed to be a stream. It's about Marvel movies specifically. Always get it's kind of shit on by directors, and I'm like, because to them they're not art, and I'm like, yes, they are art. Do you know how hard it is to make a comic book into a comic book movie? Do you know how hard that is? That's
Yeah.
hard. You know how hard it is to play a comic book character not just in a movie, but on TV. You know how hard to portray, especially villains. It's hard to portray a character like the Joker.
Mhm.
I'm going to say this: portraying comic book characters is the hardest thing to portray that any kind of character is in media, in cinema.
well, and here's the thing. To kind of steer us back on topic, I will make this. I will make this one other comment. Then we'll get back on topic. I was Matt Jarbo put out a short today addressing this very situation, and I actually watched it, and I commented on what he had to say. And give me just a minute. I will actually pull up what I had to say, and then we'll get back on to topic and everything. But we'll stay on topic. Here's the thing. John Hughes' movies, not all of them were profitable, not all of them were successful, not all of them were the best thing ever. But you know what? We look back on them now and we look back on them fondly. And that
Yeah,
was the great thing about Hughes is the fact that he was able to create the stories that he wanted to create. And he just did not care what other people had to say about his work. Okay, hang on here. Because I'm okay.
I'm just tired of it. I mean, like Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan is one of the best directors out there, and look at what he did with the Batman trilogy. Yes, you can say about Dark Knight, but Rises, but look what he did with that, the first two movies. You could create art of
Yeah.
comic book.
Okay. Here is what I said in response to Jarbo's video. Yes, Marvel has a formula to their movie, how their movies are made. Let's be candid. All films have a formula or structure to how they are made. The three act
Yeah.
structure has been the standard for decades, even going back to old Hollywood. I would wager that Villeneuve's movies follow a structure to one degree or another. Even authors follow the structure to how they write their novels or short stories. Every storyteller, regardless of the medium, follows a structure or formula. It just so happens that those at Marvel have taken their formula and been able to maximize it to where their movies and series are very profitable and very popular. The 20 plus movies in the MCU tell a long form story that's been engaging for the public and for the majority of the fan base. Villeneuve is entitled to state his opinion, but it comes off as catty on his part. And while no press is bad press, he could potentially alienate a portion of the Marvel fandom that would support his upcoming Dune film.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I'll
what's the
just,
word? A lot of people are looking forward to his movie Dune. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. I'll just, this last thing, a film I have every intention of seeing either at home or in theaters. Now, here's the thing about John Hughes. I would wager folding money that he would not have made a comment like that if he were alive today about any other artist's work. At least to the best of my knowledge, he never did it when he was alive. And there are people that are gonna be out here and they'll probably catch a stream on the replay and say that John Hughes just wasn't that good of a director or that good of a writer. He just happened to get lucky or whatever other
that's not
excuse
luck.
that they want to make up. But
That's
here's the
not luck.
thing. Hughes understood how to tell good, compelling
Yeah.
stories. He knew how to structure them in a way that would be entertaining. And he didn't go out, he didn't try to undercut other directors or other writers. He pretty much, as I said, kept to himself, did his work, and went home at the end of the day. And he didn't worry about anything unless he was working on something at the time. I'm not saying I am the John Hughes expert here. I am not, but I have I have the ability to think critically, to deduct and deduce. And I would say more than likely, if John Hughes were alive today, he would probably be okay with the MCU. Now we don't have any reason to know for sure, because obviously he's no longer with us. He's dead. But John Hughes was one thing first and foremost. He was a class act. He was a
Yeah.
good guy. He knew how to treat those that worked with him and treat them with respect so that he could get the projects that he was working on out. And I don't know who broke down his sets and so on, but I don't even know why I said that. Never mind. Strike that. Strike that. I imagine that there. Let me rephrase this. Sorry, folks. It's been kind of a long day. I don't know who did the reviews for his movies going back to when he was still alive, and particularly when he was really active in the 80s. But I would imagine that there were critics out there who probably did not care for his work.
Oh
But
yeah.
you know what? He kept doing what he was doing, and
He didn't give a shit.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, he had he had the respect and the admiration of his fans, and to one degree or another, he had the respect and the admiration of, or at least the respect, let's put it that way, of the Hollywood system, because he could come in and write a really interesting group of characters, going all the way from She's Having a Baby to Home Alone and Uncle Buck and all these other films that he either wrote or directed for. And he created these characters in a way that even now they are still relevant. And that is, I think, one of the key things about John Hughes.
Yeah, I can say majority of his movies, if they're ever on, I'll still watch.
Well, and that's another great thing about Hughes's films. They have rewatchability. They are
Isn't that
not
they're
they
not
will
past? Yeah, they're not past their time. Like
no, not even remotely. I mean, granted, a lot of his movies came out in the early to mid, or even in some cases the late '80s, but he was still able to go and move and
yeah,
do what he did. And you know what? I will say this, and yes, I might have a bit of bias here, but you know what? Fine, I call me biased in this instance. John Hughes always have and always will be one of my all-time favorite directors because he wrote about a world and about people, and he didn't need special effects. He didn't need all of the sound effects. He could simply come in, write an interesting story, and write about these characters in a way that would make you want to engage in what they were going through.
he wrote the most important aspect about any movie. You give all the special effects, CGI, but if you don't have a good script or a good story, it means nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Hughes, I think, is a prime example of the three-act structure at
Yeah.
work and what happens throughout that movie or TV show. He was able to give the impression that these are people that you could have met in real life.
Hmm.
And that is by far one of the greatest things of Shang-Chi. Or John Hughes, excuse me. Anyway. So well, Aaron, I think we're coming up on 2 hours or anything. I'm gonna let you have the last few words here and everything, and we're probably gonna wrap up for the night. So, Aaron, the floor is yours, my friend.
All right, so John Hughes, legend of the '80s, icon. I feel I feel they underrated because one of the few directors. Yeah, nobody's talking about is really how John Hughes did impact, like how he impacted the genre he focused in. Most of his genre was high school students, stuff like that. But you know what? He focused on everyday life, especially in the '80s. With these days, you don't see it that much. You don't see it, or when you try to see it, it's not. It's not the same. This is not as good as I said. Even without John Hughes, I feel like John Hughes' movies also impacted some of the sitcoms in the 80s and early 90s where there were supposed to be humor, but there's always a reason behind the episodes, and I feel like he impacted the change. And sitcoms are always been like that. It's always been more about things that's going on instead of the humor is just. I would say that the humor is more of the added part to it, but and I feel like the sitcoms these days don't have that, and I feel like the movies that try to copy like John Hughes' styles don't have that either. You could say I'm old fashioned, whatever, and I'm a person who's willing to see change and stuff. It's just that sometimes I see it working, and sometimes I don't see it working with the movies these days, with the changes, because especially with high school, it has changed where the geeks and nerds are not exactly really, and the cliques are not exactly an issue as they once were. They're still around, but they're not as big as they once were. And the other stuff he's done, um, like Uncle Buck, Train Those Automobiles, made you. You know what? Those movies made you feel for the characters. That's what I like about that one, John Hughes. He made you relate to the characters. That's what he does. That's what he's best does. I'm just gonna say it one more time. You relate to these characters. That's what he's done.
Yes, and that is something we've very much hit upon tonight during the stream. Hughes was able to write characters that we could all relate to, regardless of our age and regardless of where we come from in this world,
Yeah,
regardless of our background, regardless of our status or
I would say he's
standing
a
or
little bit
whatever.
ahead of our time. I say he was a little bit ahead of his time in that terms.
Maybe in some regards, yeah, maybe just a little bit, yeah. But as I started to say, even in the day and age that we are in now, John Hughes and his capacity to write interesting characters and relatable characters that hold a public's conscience for as long as they do is truly a testament to his ability as a writer and as a director and just as a storyteller. And
Yeah.
that's why I have such a deep admiration, and he makes his movies legitimately make me laugh. They really do. And I do want to send a shout out to the chat to Darth Astor. Darth, it has been a very long time, and I hope you're doing well. And I thank you for being here tonight. And I hope, because we're gonna be like I said, we're gonna be wrapping up here in a few minutes. But I do want to bring attention to Astor's comment here. That's what makes John Hughes's films timeless. It's because the dialogue is memorable, the characters are intriguing, and it makes you want to explore, it makes you want to dig, it makes you want to try in some small way understand through the writing of John Hughes just who he was at heart.
Mm-hmm.
So
It still resonates with people today. That's
yes. So. Well, anyways, folks, like I said, I think we're going to go and wrap up here and everything because I have been up since 3:30 this morning, and
man.
but like I said, I did want to come on for a little while this evening, and I did want to wrap up my birthday bash with y'all and to just spend some time talking about John Hughes tonight. And I do hope you all enjoyed this stream. If you catch this on the replay, make sure you share this out with your friends and make sure you leave a comment down below and let me know what are some of your favorite movies or lines or characters from John Hughes's career as a writer and a director. So, and as I mentioned at the start, I will be back this Friday, well, tomorrow at 3:30 Central Time with the Council of Ones as we continue our review of Babylon 5 Season 4. And then I will be going live Sunday afternoon, I think at 1:30 Central Time. And I'll be doing a discussion on the last two episodes of What If, and that is, of course, What If Zombies, and this last episode of what if Tony
Killmonger.
Stark? Yeah, what if Tony
Stark
Stark was
Killmonger.
saved? Yeah, what if Tony Stark
Tony
was
Stark.
saved? So, and I will also be bringing you my thoughts on the trailer for the new MCU series Hawkeye. So,
Yep.
but anyways, folks, again, thank you all very much, and you all have a great night. And again,
Take care, everybody.
yeah. And I just want to say this one final thought before we do close. The ambassadorial wing is nothing without you all. You all are just as much an ambassador of this channel, a part of this channel, a part of this community as I am. And this channel is nothing without all of you. And it's nice to take a couple of days and celebrate my birthday with you all and just kick back and relax and enjoy our time talking about this thing that we all love and that we are all a part of, known as pop culture. So, but until next time, these are the ambassadors signing off.